And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing. Yes.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The white man is enacting a story all over the world. We left our homes and flooded the world. We smothered culture. We smothered knowledge. We erased history and rewrote it our way. Myself, my grandfather is 100% Ashkenazi Jewish. Claiming to be Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish is just a conspiracy. White men claiming to be of tribes of Israel when I'm Germanic. You know, I have no ties to Israel, no ties to Judaism. You know, except loosely written history that's been whitewashed over for centuries. And you know,
from the Renaissance.
Oh yeah, right. You wipe everything clean. It's funny how exactly the Renaissance. It's this rebirth, but it's white rebirth. I think at the same exact time that Renaissance is happening, Columbus is sailing to America and committing genocide.
There's only one true ethnic Jew, the Mizrahi Jew, because they are Africans, and if you read the original Bible written in Phoenician Hebrew, they're not. Jewish people are not Europeans. The modern Jews in Israel are Russians or Khazars to be precise, from Russia. I learned it from my grandfather that he was because he was an Ashkenazi Jew.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
I'm so glad you're here because you can bring great clarity. Can you tell us a little bit about the Sephardic Jews and how they were scattered because they went west?
I sure can.
Because the reason why I want to is because a lot of them, and a lot of people don't know this, are in the Caribbean.
They are.
In the islands.
And you're one of them. I know that.
I'm one of them.
I know that.
Because, you know, a lot of folk don't know that those roots are there. One of the first batches of slaves that came to Jamaica, they were the Sephardic Jews. It's documented.
And they're all over the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even the South Central United States.
Wow.
And DNA testing is a factor in all this now.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite.
Ancient Israelite, that's who we are. That's who we are.
So if you give me time, if you give me time, but already said. I know. We don't have so many years. I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes, and I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you.
All right.
I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible.
Yes.
Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain?
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
The true Jews of Israel are your black ancestors, are your black ancestors, are your black ancestors. The true Jews of Israel are your black ancestors. You think you and Kyle make TikToks together? Kyle only cares about money. Think about it. Are you really making TikToks together, or is Kyle profiting off of you? It's just like the lost tribes of Israel. It's just like the lost tribes of Israel.
I was noticing that you're kind of hanging out a lot with Kyle lately. Is there a problem with that? No, I think it's amazing. It's awesome that someone like you could be okay with someone like him, given all the new information lately. You know, the stuff that's come out about how the Jews stole the black race's identity? That the lost tribes of Judah were actually all Africans? You didn't hear about this? Black people are actually the Jews and people like Kyle have taken that from them? Stop talking to me. When the Jews came to America to escape persecution in World War II, they found that blacks were already the underclass in America. So they had to invent a story for themselves which they could make everyone believe because Kyle runs Hollywood.
Their bones were discovered in Kafsay Caves near Nazareth in Galilee in 1933. 13 fragile skeletons, one a woman, a tiny baby at her feet. When these bones were first uncovered, they were the oldest complete modern human skeletons ever found.
The numerous skeletons that have been found in caves in Israel at the sites of Kafsay and Shkul show us that there were modern humans outside of Africa over 100,000 years ago. Those modern humans may well have gone up the Nile corridor. Those modern humans may well have gone up the Nile corridor. Those modern humans.
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai has a Nubian feature, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. And in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian. At the end, it doesn't matter the color.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
Genesis chapter 11 verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Want to say Shabbat Shalom. I want to say peace and blessings to you guys again. And want to say hope you guys having a great Shabbat. Hope you getting the necessary rest. And I pray that you guys celebrate or have a place to celebrate the Shabbat tomorrow. Well, for us in the morning. But nevertheless, I want to say peace and blessings to you guys. And so tonight, what I wanted to do, especially with, me covering this topic a couple of weeks ago, and I decided that I'm going to do this lesson again, right? Because I know some of the confusion is, how do we celebrate the Shabbat? I'm not going to deal with the celebrating of the Shabbat tonight. But the other question, and I think just as important, is when is the Shabbat? Because some of the things that many will hold on to justify not honoring Shabbat is, well, no one knows what day the Shabbat is because the Romans, the Catholic Church, or, with their calendar and all of that other stuff, it's impossible to know what day we actually are on. So I want to address all those things, and I want to put to rest a lot of the poor teachings that's among our community, the talking points. I want to address that tonight. I want to also address whether or not if the Shabbat is on a fixed date, meaning some believe that the Shabbat is supposed to always fall on the 7th, the 14th, the 28th, the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, the 28th, while others will say the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and so forth, and believe that that's the day that the Shabbat is supposed to always fall on. Especially when you start getting into the lunar calendar, some will, because of how their calculations, they will try to force the first day of the week being the first day of the month, of the new month, or whatever the case may be. It's so many different things that are out here. So I just want to really do this teaching again. And I want to put to rest some of the different arguments that are out there that many are using as a justifiable reason in their eyes to not honor the Shabbat. Now, I'm not going to get into the commandments as far as in terms of the law, statutes, and commandments and all that tonight. But tonight, I want to walk you through how to recreate the calendar. And whatever you do from this day forth, that's on you. But I can say with confidence, I'm going to, with this lesson, put to rest a lot of the poor teachings that are out there in this regards. So let's go ahead and get into it, family. Let me just give some shout outs here. I know I haven't done it in a while. Usually I would start off with Shabbat. I mean, not Shabbat, but shout outs. And being that, this is a unscheduled live. So I have some time to give some shout outs here as well. I still see that we still, for us to chat, people are starting to join us and so forth. So it's not too big to where it's going to be almost impossible for me to give shout outs. So let me go ahead and give some shout outs here. And then we'll get into the lesson. First, I want to start off by giving shout outs to Malaka Bat Yah, to the remnant. I want to say peace and blessings to you, sis. I want to say peace and blessings to Mark Baker. Who else do we have here? Let's see here. I want to say peace and blessings to Brother James. That's right. We woke now. Blessings to Alexandria Leggett. I want to also give shout outs to Rita D. I want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Rod Lee, I want to say shalom to you as well. Joe Scott, I want to say Shabbat shalom to you as well. Leon Bell, I want to say shalom to you as well. Shabbat shalom to you as well. Veronica Brown, I want to say shalom to you. All right, let's see. Jerry Carroll, want to say peace and blessings to you. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you as well. And family, it's not a deal breaker for me whether you say Shalom or Shalom, because, some make it a deal breaker. For me, it's not a deal breaker. I understand what the ancient Hebrew pronunciation is, but I'm not one of those that get caught up to whereas though I'm majoring in the minors and completely disregard our brothers and sisters. No, that's not how I do. That's not how we work here. But nevertheless, Keith Dixon, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Sister Joy, peace and blessings to you. Dee Dee, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. Who else do we have here? Kingdom Builders, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. Karen Batya, I want to say peace and blessings to you. I want to say Shalom to you. Sister Yvette Rivera, I want to say Shalom to you. Who else do we have here? Mentally Crafted. Let's see here. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Peace. Let's see what he says here. Peace I leave you with. Leave with you. My perfect peace. Hallelujah. Absolutely. Really appreciate you for joining in and watching the live tonight. Timothy Davis, want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. Stay on Fire Ministries, want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you, holding things down out in Tennessee. Locale, really appreciate you. Let's see, let's get a few more in, then we'll get right into the lesson. Let's see here. Shamara, Unorthodox. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you. Right. You always have that one person when they're reading, right? They always add their own words to stuff. Right. Anyway. And that's me adding my own words and syllables. Anyway. So peace and blessings to Sister Joy. Who else do we have here? Did I get everyone? Just scrolling down here real quick. All right. I know others are joining in, but let's see. Kindred Jegna. I want to say peace and blessings to you. And I think I caught, here's a couple more. Let's see here. Shalom to Ray Chantel. I want to say shalom to you. Yaquaba, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. Let's see here. TM Kawarim, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Indonesia, I want to say Shabbat Shalom to you as well. Big Cuz, make me think about my cousin who says Big Cuz, what it does. Want to say peace and blessings to you. Big Cuz 410. Let's see here. A couple more. Shalom to Mona Mitch. I want to say peace and blessings to you, as well as Juliet Matthew. I want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Major, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. And last but not least, Samithia Wheeler, peace and blessings to you. I want to say shalom to you. And if I don't get to you in the initial shout outs, I will definitely make it a point to get to you as I ask questions as we progress in this lesson. Like the old school say, don't charge it to my, what would they say? Charge it to my head, not to my heart. If I'm mispronouncing anyone's name, old school, charge it to my head, not to my heart. So again, really appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. So let's go ahead and get into this lesson here. Again, we got a lot to cover. All right. Our disclaimer for tonight, right? The intention of this lesson is to address doctrine. I am not trying to go at anyone. I'm not trying to call out anyone. It's all about addressing doctrine. All right. That's the only disclaimer I have. Moderators, if anyone act crazy inside the chat, you guys know what to do. Give them a warning. But if they're being a distraction, kick them out. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. Just a couple of things that you guys should already know, but I just want to cover a couple of things, just some things I want to reiterate every time I teach this lesson and other lessons in regards to the Shabbat. What's the purpose of the Shabbat? What is the purpose of the Shabbat? Well, number one, with this question here, is the Shabbat a sign? We're going to answer this question as well. So let me make this clear. The Shabbat is a sign, right? Let me say that again. The Shabbat is a sign. It's not just a day of celebration. It is also a sign It's mark, proof, and evidence of the covenant the Most High made with Israel. Right? Let me say that again. The Shabbat is a sign, right? It's not just a day of rest, a day of celebration, but mark, proof, and evidence of the covenant the Most High made with Israel. So when we go to Exodus chapter 31, verse 13 through 17, you guys should know this because I cover it over and over again, but we want to do it again. Speak thou also unto the children of Israel, saying, verily, my Shabbats, right? Ye shall keep Shamar, for it is a sign, awath, between me and you throughout your generations, that ye may know that I am Yahweh, that doeth sanctify you. So we see that the Shabbat is a sign, proof, evidence between the Most High and his people forever. Verse 14, ye shall keep the Shabbat. Therefore it is holy unto you. Everyone that defileth it shall surely be put to death. For whosoever doeth any work therein, that soul shall be cut off from among his people. Verse 15, 6 days may work be done, but in the seventh is the Shabbat rest, holy to Yahweh. Whosoever doeth any work in the Shabbat, Shabbat day, he shall surely be put to death. Verse 16, wherefore the children of Israel shall keep the Shabbat, to observe the Shabbat. In other words, not just when we think of observe, we fail to connect the word execute, right? That's what it means, to execute the Shabbat throughout their generations for a perpetual covenant. It's perpetual, family. It's not with a one time. It's perpetual. It's forever. All right. Verse 17. It is a sign between me and the children of Israel forever. For in 6 days Yahweh made heaven, earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. Okay. Verse 18. And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of Elohim. Right? So this sign, this proof, this evidence were written on the tables by the very finger of the Most High. Okay? So again, Hebrew definition of the word sign, we see here a signal, evidence, mark, proof. All right? So what is the Shabbat? All right? What is the covenant? What are the 10 commandments? Right? Pretty simple. Laws are instructions, enactments, statutes on how to carry out what? The commandments. That's all the law is. Instructions on how to carry out the foundational 10 commandments. So when you hear the term law of Moses or the law of Yah, the first 5 books are instructions on how to carry out the 10 commandments. You erase the first 5 books, you're not going to even know the 10 commandments. So laws are instructions, enactments. This is where you get into ordinances. When you see enactments, ordinances, statutes on how to carry out what, right? The commandments. They are instructions, enactments, statutes on how to carry out the commandments. So the 10 commandments is the words of the covenant. Make sure you remember this, family. The 10 commandments is the word, right? The 10 commandments is the word of the covenant, and the covenant was specifically put in place to represent the Most High, the Father, dwelling among his people, his presence, his physical presence. You remove the covenant out of the ark, then you just have an empty box. So the key is the covenant, and you have to have words on that covenant, not a blank check. So the words of the covenant is the 10 commandments. All right. So let's go to Exodus chapter 34, starting at verse, did I say 28? Do I have right now? I hope I didn't. I gotta fix this slide. Let me make sure here. All right. Just want to make sure. Yeah, I gotta fix this slide. This slide is messed up, right? Let me make sure I got it correct here. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be reverse. It's supposed to be chapter 34, verse 28. I'm looking at this slide here. But anyway, so this is actually verse 28 is where I'm starting at, as you see here in the back, right? But notice what you say here. Matter of fact, let me just go here. Let me zoom in here. I'll read it from here since it's here up. Let's read it from here. And he was there with Yahweh 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water. And he, Yahweh, wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 commandments. So guess what, family? Cannot get around it. You cannot get around it. The words of the covenant is the 10 commandments. All right. Let me say that again. The words of the covenant is the 10 commandments. Remember that, family. Make a note of that. Let me say it one more time. The words of the covenant, because many will say we are under a new covenant, but when you ask them, what's the words of the covenant, they cannot tell you. And a few that make an attempt, they will say, hey, they'll quote from Matthew chapter 22. They'll say, hey, to love the Father and love each other. Family, that is not new. That is part of the 10 commandments. All right. But anyway, so let's continue here. So how can we reconstruct the Hebrew calendar? And I know that's a good question to ask, because when I did this years ago, family, when I say I put a lot of work into studying this, because I was on the other side of the Jordan. I was on the outside looking in, so to speak, and I was teaching against the Shabbat, even when I began to teach identity. I was still teaching against the Shabbat. So when I put the lesson together, it's extensive study. When I put this presentation together, it was me doing all I can to teach against it. And the more I began to do my research and study, the opposite took place. So I went through the law and the prophets all over again. I went through the Apocrypha. I really did an in-depth study. I did a lot of research and study on the calendars. I'm not even going to begin to give the list of things that I did in terms of studying to make sure that I put together this presentation with accuracy. And so I'm going to prove to you that anyone who tells you it is impossible, no one knows the days, or whatever stuff that they may try to tell you, they are absolutely incorrect. And I can say with confidence, the issue has never been the 7-day week cycle. It's always been the year cycle. It's always been the year, because it went from 360 days and so many different ancient cultures, then 5 days got added. Right. But it's not the issue with the 7-day cycle. Right. 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day. That wasn't the issue. Right. It's when you start dealing with the yearly calendar and days being added. But there's a way to calculate it. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it, family. All right. How can we reconstruct the Hebrew calendar? I know that's one of the questions that I get asked over and over again. But let me say this. It starts with understanding the 360-day calendar. And family, I'll say this again, please. Let's not get caught up in the book of Enoch. Let's not get caught up in Jubilees and all of that. Torah is our foundation. And I can say emphatically, there were 30 cultures around the world that use 360-day calendars. It was more than that, but just even for the sake of the presentation, I could tell you that Israel, the ancient Israelites, before the writings of the book of Enoch, which was influenced by the book of Jubilees, and we're still dealing with the first century first century BCE, right? I could say that that had when I say that, the influence of that calendar 365, you start getting into the influence of the Romans, the Greeks rather, during that time. That's a whole nother discussion. So again, we're going to keep it simple here, and I will say this with confidence: you will not find a month within the scriptures, the law and the prophets, the first 5 books of the Bible, and the writings of the prophets, you will not, matter of fact, none of that. You will not find a day that's more than 30 days or less than 30 days. Right? You're not going to find that. All else fail, error on the side of Torah, those first 5 books that's been written 12 to 1400 years prior to the book of Enoch, prior to the book of Jubilees. So again, there were 30 cultures around the world that use 360-day years with 12 30-day months, right? Starting with the Hindus, right? And I'm going to give you a source here, that you can use to help give you clarity, a simple source here. So, and this is what I'm going to quote for the sake of this presentation and tonight. So the 360-day calendar, Hindu, right? This is coming from Velikovsky, Emmanuel, Worlds in Collision, right? So this is a great source that you can use that gives you some information on the different calendars from different cultures. I have other sources, but for the sake of this presentation, we're just going to keep it simple with this source right here. And I encourage you guys, purchase it. Don't just take my word for it. Take this and go with it. And I'll say this again. There was no 300, and I want to say shout outs to Red Letter, but I want to make this clear. I see he posted 364 days in a year, but I want to be clear that wasn't so in the ancient Hebrew calendar during the time of Moses, right? During the time of Moses, during the time of Joshua, during the time of King David, during the time of the prophets, there was not a 364-day calendar. And again, in order to have a 364-day calendar, that means you're going to have 31-day months. And I can say emphatically, you're not going to find that inside Scripture. You're not going to find a 31-day month, and you're not going to find a 29-day month. But anyway, let's go ahead and keep it going. But I want to give shout outs to Red Letter. Want to give shout outs to him. All right. But let's go ahead and get into it here. So this is dealing with the Hindus, right? The text of the Veda period, known a year for only 360 days. All Veda texts speak uniformly and exclusively of a year of 360 days. Passages in which the length of the year is directly stated are found in the Brahmanas. All right. So it is striking that the Vedas nowhere mention an intercalary period, while repeatedly stating that the year consists of 360 days. Nowhere refers to the 5 or 6 days that actually are part of the solar year. See, what this is saying is 360 days was the actual calendar year. And they did not have any references to an extra 5 or 6 days, part of a solar year or whatever. So that's what this is saying. There was no added days. So when you start getting into the Egyptian calendars and, when you start getting during the time of Ptolemy, and how they began to, add 5 days to many of the calendars, you'll understand that starting with the Egyptians added 5 days to their calendar during that time, not during the ancient times, the earlier times, the earlier periods. All right. But anyway, the Hindu year of 360 days is divided into 12 months of 30 days each. The text describes the moon as crescent for 15 days and waning for another 15 days. They also say, I didn't put all of that in here, but you can read the fullness of that paragraph if you get the source. All right. But let's deal with the Persians. Same thing. 360-day calendars, the Persians, right? Notice what it says here. The ancient Persian year was composed of 360 days or 12 months of 30 days each. In the 7th century, 5 Gotha days were added to the calendar. Notice what it says. In the 7th century, 5 days, right? I'm telling you, family, if you start going back and you study these ancient calendars, you'll see that they had 360-day years, not just the Israelites, but other cultures. But then you see 5 days being added to it, as you see here in the 7th century. That's the Middle Ages. So the ancient Persian year was composed of 360 days, or 12 months of 30 days each. In the 7th century, 5 Gotha days were added to the calendar. And the Bundahis, a sacred book of the Persians, the 180 successive appearances of the sun from the winter solstice to the summer solstice, and from the summer solstice to the next winter solstice. So this is basically just breaking it down, giving you clarity of what I just pointed out. Then when we go to the Babylonians, right? And look at the Babylonians. The old Babylonian year was composed of 360 days. The astronomical tablets from the period antedating the Neo-Babylonian empire compute the year at so many days without mention of additional days. The ancient Babylonian year had only 360 days, was known before the cuneiform script was deciphered. All right. As you see here, it says the walls of Babylon were 360 furlongs. Right now we're dealing with the circle, right? 360 degrees, split into half, 180. All right. But the Babylon, it says, were the walls of Babylon were 360 furlongs in compass, as many as there had been days in the year. The zodiac of the Babylonians was divided into 36 decans, a decan being the space of the sun covered in relation to fixed stars during a 10-day period. So you had 36 decans, and each decan represented 10 days. All right. So that's what this is. This is just giving us clarity on that. All right. So when we go to the Egyptians, right? Same thing. The Egyptian year was composed of 360 days before it became 365 by the additional 5 days. The calendar of the Ebers Papyrus, a document of the New Kingdom, has a year of 12 months of 30 days each. But then when you get here in the 9th year of King Ptolemy, right, it says here, or minus 238, right, a reform party among the Egyptian priests met at Canopus and drew up a decree in 1866, and it was discovered in Tanis in the Delta, inscribed on a tablet. So in a nutshell, this is telling you how they modified the calendar, right? They modified the calendar, the Egyptian calendar, right? As you see here, 365 days into the 5 days which were afterwards ordered to be added. The author of the decree did not specify the particular date on which the 5 days were added to the 360 days. But we see the Egyptians, 360 days, but 5 days were added. Okay. So how did the ancient Egyptians organize their time? And I want to take it a step further with the Egyptians, because I was going to do something on the Sumerians. I'll do that another time. If I have to do a refresher in this lesson. But notice what it says here. The ancient Egyptians had several calendrical systems in place to mark the passing of time. Number one, a lunar calendar. Number two, a civil calendar, and possibly a solar calendar. Like us, the Egyptian civil calendar divided the solar year, which they refer to as Renpet, into 12 months. But each month, Abed, consisted of a standard 30 days, Heru, equaling 360 days in a year. Each of the 12 months contained 3 weeks. Now notice this, family. Each of the 12 months contained 3 weeks. The work week was 9 days long, followed by 1 day of rest. So according to the ancient Egyptians, right, they worked, their Shabbat day was the 10th day of rest. So in their calendar month, right, even though it's still 30 days, right, they broke it off to every 9 days, right, was a day of rest. The 10th day was a day of rest, right? According to this source. So also like us, they divided their days into 24 hours with a standardized 12 hours for daylight and 12 to mark the passing of night. Originally, the Egyptians did not have names for each of their months as we do, and what this means is today. So like the ancient Hebrews, Israelites did not have names of their months, names of their days, names of the months, days, and we could also go as far as saying years. But anyway, originally, the Egyptians did not have names for each of their months as we do. We derive our names from Julian and Roman calendar systems, but organize the 12 months into 3 seasons of 4 months each. So this is saying the Egyptians, instead of having the 4 seasons like we have, they had 3 4-month seasons. As a result, they called the months by their order in their season. In other words, first month of the season, second month of the season, and so on. And in the Middle and New Kingdoms, some month-specific names began to be used, probably linking the month to festivals celebrated during them, such as the month of Phaofi, which was named after the annual Opet festival. In other words, Pa Opet and Thebes. So elements of this practice can already be seen in some 12th dynasty documents belonging to Hakanach, or excuse me if I'm butchering the name, Hakanach, a Theban official. All right, but let's get back to here, because this is what I really want to hone in on, right? The 360-day calendar with the Israelites. Let's hone in on this right here, right? The month of the Israelites from the 15th to the 18th century before the present era was equal to 30 days, and 12 months comprised a year. There is no mention of months shorter than 30 days, nor a day longer than 12 months. A year longer than 12 months, right? That month was composed of 30 days, which is evidenced by Deuteronomy 34, verse 8, 21, verse 13, Numbers 20, verse 29. Right? So where the mourning for the dead is ordered for a full month and is carried for 30 days. The story of the flood, as given in Genesis, reckons in months of 30 days. It says that 150 days passed between the 17th day of the second month and of the 17th day. So this is just giving us further proof. So when we go to Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 8, we'll see it here. Notice what we see here. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended, but we see 30 days. So again, you will not see a 31-day month. You will not see a 29-day month or a 29.5-day month. You will not find it. You will not see it anywhere in the scriptures. Deuteronomy chapter 21, verse 13, another passage here. And she shall put on the raiment of her captivity from off her head, and shall remain in the house, in thine house, and bewail her father and mother a full month. And this is what we're referring to, a 30-day period. All right. So additional proof of Israel's 360-day calendar. When we go to Revelations chapter 12, verse 6, guess what you're going to see here? You're going to see this prophecy here. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she hath a place prepared of Yahweh, that they should feed her there 1,260 days. So 1,260 days divided by 30 will give you 42 months. In other words, 3.5 years. So again, 42 divided by 12, right? 3.5. You're going to have 3.5, right? So 30-day months, and 12-month years. So the ancient Israelites used a 360-day year and a 12 30-day month calendar. Let me say that again. The ancient Israelites used a 360-day year, 12-month 12 30-day month calendar. All right. So let me just knock down another thing as we get ready to build this calendar up, right? Because I want you guys to make sure you understand this, right? And so, Sister Malaka, I see what you posted here. Some say that there's a 13th month, but I don't know about that. And I want to make it clear that is completely incorrect. That is completely incorrect, right? That is completely incorrect in terms of a 13th month. There's not a single scripture that supports that. All right. But I appreciate the comment here. But no, that's not true. And let me see here. Let me see another comment here. The beginners channel. Let's not go there, because when you go into these type of primitive arguments, you can't have, when you ask, can somebody say verbatim that there's 360 days in a year as far as inside the Torah, you're not going to find that. You're not going to find that. What you're going to find is you're not going to find a 13th month, and you're not going to find a month that's beyond 30 days or less than 30 days. So let's not, take some of those questions that is just basically a question that I would call it an impossible question that you know the answer to it. There's not a single passage in Torah that's going to go verbatim. That's just like someone homosexual asking, show me where it says homosexual in the scriptures. See, those are the things, those are the questions that many try to use like an aha moment to try to cast doubt on what the text says. But I can tell you, and I would challenge you, you go and show me anything that says a month beyond a 30-day period or a month less than a 30-day period. Show me a 13th month inside the scriptures. You won't be able to do that. So let's not ask those questions like these, like almost like a gotcha question, which is not. All right. So family, I just want to, let me kick this person out. See, this is where, when you start dealing with people, and he didn't hear my comments that I made, he want to go there with the book of Jubilees, right? Man, I'm not dealing with the book of Jubilees. Those are pseudo books written in the first century, right? Jubilees written in the first century. So I recommend you go back to my older teaching, actually a teaching I did over the past week, dealing with the book of Jubilees, showing the flaws in the book of Jubilees. That's pretty much like the Talmud. So let's leave that argument aside, and please don't come inside here into the chat being disruptive. So book of Jubilees do not trump Torah, period. Right? That's been tampered with a number of times. So that's why I want to make sure you guys understand this. This is why I'm doing this lesson, because people like that will come into the chat with a purpose of wanting to be disruptive. And that's why I did a teaching on the book of Jubilees. What was it, last week? Showing some of the flaws in the book of Jubilees. And this is the reason why I share it. So that way you guys can be able to address when people try to make those type of arguments, and take hold the book of Jubilees to have more weight than the first 5 books there. Jubilees, little Genesis. No, we don't need a rewriting of the Genesis, a paraphrased text. So anyway, family, if we have enough time, I'll go back over some of those talking points about that. But again, that's why that person want to ask that question. Oh, show me a literal 360 day, but then he wanted to go to the book of Jubilees. See, that's what people like that try to do. They want to corner you in. They want to try to corner you in and say, hey, look, I got you. No, the book of Jubilees is not part of the canon. And there's a reason why, because it's a paraphrase text that's filled with exaggerations. All right. But anyway, family, but let's go ahead and get back to this. But I just want to share with you again, family, that when you're dealing with these type of people, this is the stuff that you have to know. And that's why I do these lessons. And that's why it may seem to be redundant on some of the things that I may teach. The redundancy is so that way you guys can put it to memory and you can deal with that type of person who want to try to justify something that was written 1,300 years after the first 5 books, interpolated all through it. But anyway, so let's go and deal with this other thing here, right? You guys probably remember this from a couple of weeks ago, but this is a screen print from a Facebook post of someone trying to justify the lunar calendar. And what they were trying to push is that, of course, the new moon being the first day of the month. The first day of the month. But this person was trying to say that the first day of the month falls at the beginning of the week, right? And the 7th day of the month is at the end of the week. And then they were trying to push this narrative that the Shabbat, like some believe, is going to always fall on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, the 28th. Now, this person believes is stationary at the end of the week. But as I pointed out, some, and I'm not going to mention his name because I want to keep bringing his name up, but some, right, teach that the 7th, 14th, 21, 28 can be any day of the week, and that's the Shabbat. It's going to always fall on those days, no matter what position it is during the week. And I'm going to show you that that is incorrect. So we're going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone real quick here to show you that the Shabbat will not always fall on the numerical, in other words, the 7th, right? And what I mean by that is it's not going to always fall on the 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, or the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and so forth. All right. So I'm going to give you proof of that by using this example here. I'm going to show you that the new month did not fall at the beginning of the week. And I'm going to show you that the Shabbat in this example here did not fall on the 7th. And then from here, we're going to reconstruct our calendar and further prove that whatever logics that many are using is incorrect when we rebuild this calendar. So let's put this to rest real quick. Did Yahweh designate honoring the Shabbat only on the literal 7th day of every month? No, right? And I could take this a step further. The literal 7th day of every month, the 14th day, the 21st day, the 28th day. And I'm going to say no. So let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 5. And family, make your notes. Take your notes, family, because once we go through here, we're going to transition over to rebuilding the calendar. And you will be able to do this at your own leisure as well. And you will never have to ask, well, when is the feast days? You should be able to go by this, what I'm going to walk you through, and you should be fine. All right. And moderators, if that person pops back in, because I just put the person in, I wasn't sure if I banned the person or not. Oh, yeah, I did ban. So I did ban the person. But if anyone comes in trying to be disruptive, you guys know what to do. Block them. Give them a warning. But if they don't listen, block them. All right. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and continue here. 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, Chadash, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the 3rd day at even. So what day of the week did the 3rd day fall on? That's what we have to ask the question, because David said to Jonathan, Right? Let's go back here. David made it clear that he was going to hide for 3 days, and he's going to meet up with Jonathan on that third day. All right. So what day of the week did the third day fall on? Did it fall on what would be called Tuesday of today? Did the new moon fall on what would be called Saturday? Right? Or did it fall on what would be called Sunday today? So let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 18 and 19. Let's see what it says. Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. Right? Verse 19. And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand, and shalt remain by the stone Ezel or Ezel. So what day did the new moon or the new month fall on? All right. Did it fall at the beginning of the week? All right, let's get it. We're going to give clarity here. So the new moon, right? Let's deal with the first day, right? The new moon, the first day. Let's deal with the new day, the first day of the new month. 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 24 and 25. Let's see what it says. So we can kind of start building, setting anchors here. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat down to eat meat. So now we in the new month. On the first day of the new month, King Saul sat down to eat. And notice what it says here, verse 25. The king sat upon his seat as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Jonathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. So on the first day of the new month, King Saul is eating, but David is not there. This is on the first day of the new month, the new moon, the new month. So now let's go to the second day of the new month. 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 27. Notice what it says. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. So here it is on the second day of the new month. David is not there. And Saul said unto Jonathan, his son, wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today? So we're in a new month. On the second day of the new month, King Saul asks a question in a nutshell: where is David? This is 2 days in a row that he's not at the table, seated at the table. So on the second day, when Saul again noticed David's absence, he questioned Jonathan. This was not a Shabbat or a feast day, and David, who was one of the leading commanders in the armed forces, should have been at his place, right at the king's table. So David should have been there because there was no feast days again. It was not the Shabbat, so David should have been at the table eating with the king, seated with the king. So when we go to verse 34 of chapter 20, notice what it says here. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger and did eat no meat for the second day of the month. For he was grieved for David because his father had done him shame. So this is still on the second day, right? After Saul asked the question, Jonathan got upset, as it says here. He rose up from the table in fierce anger and did eat no meat on the second day, right? So we see this is still what? The second day of the new month. Enraged, Saul hurled his spear at Jonathan, attempting to kill his very own son. So Jonathan jumped up, left the table in anger. So this now leads me to the third day, right? When we go to verse 35, notice what happened. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. So David came out of hiding to say goodbye to his friend. And then we skip down to verse 42. Notice what it says. And Jonathan said to David, go in peace, for as much as we sworn both of us in the name of Yahweh, saying, Yahweh be between me and thee, and between thy seed and my seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Jonathan went into the city. So this is on the third day. So guess what? What else occurred on the third day of the new month? Well, I'm glad you guys asked this question, so I'm going to give you the answer. David met with the high priest Abimelech in the temple on this third day. And why is this significant? I'm going to show you. When you turn your Bible over to chapter 21, and keep in mind, family, when you look at the chapters were not inserted into the rolls until the 12th century. Verses were not inserted into like the 15th century. So, and it wasn't done on any special or particular formula. This is why you'll see some chapters may start in the center of a thought. This is why you have to go through to the previous chapter to get clarity of what you're reading. In many cases, the thought can span over 3 or 4 chapters. So when you see this here, this is chapter 21 is a continuation of chapter 20. All right, so let's go ahead and continue here. So, and I'm going to show you how it's a continuation. 1 Samuel chapter 21, verse 1 through 5. Notice what it says. Then came David to Nob at Abimelech's, Amalek's, the priest. Let me say it again. Then David came to Nob to Amalek the priest, and Amalek was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, why art thou alone and no man with thee? All right. Verse 2. And David said to Amalek, the priest, the king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee. So David didn't show up. Right. Remember, he didn't show up to dinner with the king for 2 days in a row. He and Jonathan met on the third day. Right. So now David on that third day left there, and this is where he ended up at. And now he's stating here, he actually lied to the priest when he says the king hath commanded me a business, and he hath said unto me, let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee. And I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. Now, therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. Verse 4, the priest answered David and said, there is no common, in other words, quadash bread under mine hand, but there is hollow bread, lacham, if the young men have kept themselves at least from women. Notice what David says here. David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days. So for 3 days, he's making it clear, these 3 days, right? He and his men refrained from being with women. But these are the same 3 days, like on the third day, remember, this is dealing with the third day of the new month. He met with Jonathan, and then they parted ways, and this is where David is in the temple on that third day. Since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in a vessel. So why is this important about this last portion right here, which says, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel? Why is that important? Well, I'm going to give you the answer. Here we go. Verse 6. Let's see what the verse 6 says. It says, so the priest gave him hollow bread, for there was no bread there but the shew bread that was taken from before Yahweh, to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away. So to understand what day this is, we have to go to the law of the shew bread. And then we're going to figure out exactly what's the significance of this third day of this month. What day did it fall on? Here it is. Let's go to the law of the shew bread. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 5 through 8. And thou shalt take fine flour, bake 12 cakes thereof. 2/10 deals shall be in 1 cake, and thou shalt set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row. upon the pure table before Yahweh. Verse 7, and thou shalt put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a memorial, even an offering made by fire unto Yahweh. Verse 8, every Shabbat, make a note of this, family, every Shabbat. So this is occurring on the Shabbat. Let me say this again. This occurred on the Shabbat. Let me say it one more time. This occurred on the Shabbat. Brandon, I'm gonna say this here. The new moon days, right? They were not always a day of worship, even though every single day was considered a day of worship. But the Shabbat, which is the 7th day, Shabbat was a day of worship or a feast day, because as I just shared with you, I just proved this, that the new moon was not a day of worship, a mandatory day of worship. Why? Because I just read out of 1 Samuel, and we just dealt with the first month, and David is not at the table with the king, right? It wasn't a feast day. It wasn't a special feast or anything, but David was not at the table. And that's the only reason why he will be excused from the table, is if it was a feast day. So again, that new moon, right? That is not a feast day. Every new moon is not a feast day celebration. Now, I can go into Ezekiel 46, but I'm not going to do it tonight because I don't want to get sidetracked. But I can tell you that the first day of every month was not a celebration, right? It was not a mandatory celebration, all right, for the Israelites. So I will take a look at that passage, and I'll take a look at exactly what you're referring to, what verse, and we'll go from there. I'll revisit that, but I'm not going to do it tonight because of what I'm focusing on right now. So if you have the verse, I'll take a look at it, or I'll just take a look at the entire chapter itself just to make sure, and I'll just read it and give clarity. But I can say with confidence that the first day of every month was not a celebration. The new moon was not the celebration, because again, we just went through the first day of the month, and King Saul is asking about David's whereabouts because he's not at the table, and the only way he could be excused for not eating at the table is if it's the Shabbat or a feast day. All right, but anyway, going back to the lesson here, as we look here, the law of the shewbread, we can see here every Shabbat he shall set it in order before Yahweh continually. So the priest would what? Change the swap out the bread. Every Shabbat he prepared the bread on a Shabbat. So every Shabbat he shall set it in order before Yahweh continually, being taken from the children of Israel by an everlasting covenant. So again, I just proved, and I'm going to give you a visual here, that the 7th day of the month is not always a Shabbat. It's not going to fall on the Shabbat day. And I'm going to lay it out. So the shewbread is replaced every Shabbat, as I proved with the law, right? So this means David met with the high priest on the Shabbat. So that Shabbat was a 3rd day. Remember, on the first day of the month. So if the 3rd day of the month fell on the Shabbat, then that means the first day of the month, the new moon, fell on what? The 5th day of the week. So just this right here cancels out that argument that the Shabbat is going to always fall on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, the 28th, or the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th. So that cancels out that entire argument, because again, David hid himself in the field, right? On the first day of the new month, 1 Samuel chapter 20, verse 24 through 25. Saul asked about David's whereabouts, right? He asked him initially And then he asked him, he asked him about his whereabouts on the second day. And guess what? He was nowhere to be found. Excuse the typo here. Exodus 16 shouldn't be there. But Saul asked David about his whereabouts. Right. And then when we go down to the third day, David met Jonathan on the third day. Right. And lastly, David met the high priest on that same day, later on that same day. So we see here, we just gave you a visual. Let me go back here, right? That new month, even though it didn't tell you what month they were in, but that new month fell on what we would call, according to the Gregorian calendar, a Thursday, the 5th day of the week. That new day fell on the 5th day of the week. That third day fell on the Shabbat. But what many with the lunar calendar, what they would try to do, they will always try to make that first day fall at the beginning of the week. And I just proved to you that that is not the case. All right. So these are just the bullets again to prove each day, just reviewing, giving you a review or summary of each day. So the Messiah confirms this situation occurred on the Shabbat. Here it is, Mark chapter 2, verse 23 through 28. Because this whole discussion here is about what? The Shabbat. And it came to pass that he went through the cornfield on the Shabbat day, and his disciples began as they went to pluck the ears of corn. And the Pharisees said unto him, Behold, why do they on the Shabbat day that which is not lawful? And he said unto them, Have ye never read what David did? Family, I'm telling you, that's the perfect line. All through the good news, you hear the Messiah say over and over again, have you not read? Have you not read? You hear that over and over again. Have you not read? You hear that over and over again. Have you not read? That's the question you ask when people are coming to you and you know that they're in error. Just ask them, have you not read? You know what I mean? I do it all the time, especially when I'm interacting with other pastors and we get into certain discussion. I'll say, have you not read? Right? So as you see here, he said unto them, have ye never read what David did when he had need and hungered, he and they that were with him, how he went into the house of Yahweh in the days of Abiathar the high priest, and did eat the shewbread, which is not lawful to eat before the priest, and gave also to them which were with him. Verse 27, and he said unto them, the Shabbat was made for man, and not man for the Shabbat. Therefore, the Son of Man, Adonai, also is also of the Shabbat. In other words, Lord of the Shabbat. So we know that this occurred on the Shabbat. So the high priest is the superintendent. That's what Adonai means, superintendent of the house of Yah, and have the authority to make individual situational exceptions. That's what Christ was saying on the Shabbat. All right. So is there another example that proves that the seventh day of the month did not always fall on a Shabbat? I'm going to show you here. So now let's get into building this calendar. I'm sure you guys are ready to build this calendar. Let's do it. Let's get it in, family. Let's build this calendar. Let me say that again. Let's start building this calendar. Here we go. Right? Let's build this calendar. Does the Shabbat always fall on the seventh day of the month? Does the new moon or the new month always land on the first day of the month at the beginning of the week? So what day was the new moon created on? That's a good question, right? What day was the moon created on, right? What day was the sun created on? Let's go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 through 19 real quick, and then we'll build this month up. This year. We'll build the first calendar year. The original Hebrew calendar we're going to use scripture, and I'm going to show you the very first calendar. You can build that calendar. And there's so many nuggets in here that we're going to share along the way. But Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 through 19. And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs. That's the key. Let them be for signs, for seasons, Mawa'ad, Yam, and for days, Yam, Yam, and years, Shana, Yam. All right. Verse 15. But let's go back here to make sure we understand this here. Make a note of this. This is on the fourth day. Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs. This is on the fourth day, and for seasons, and for days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. Verse 16. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater lights to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. So the moon to rule the day, the sun to rule the day, and the moon to rule the night, the moon and the stars. But notice what it says, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Let me read it again. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. Verse 18, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And Elohim saw that it was good. In the evening, in the morning were the fourth day. All right. So we see the moon, we see the sun, we see the stars. But I want to also break down this greater lights real quick. What are the greater lights? So the greater lights are referring to the sun, the moon, and the stars, right? But they are also referring to as angels, and we'll get there in a second. So the lights of the heavens ruled over the day and night, right? Not man. So these, the sun, the moon is not to rule over us, family, right? They are not, they are created to worship. Wait, well, hold up. Let me do something real quick. Because these, all right. They are not created to worship, nor to determine the fate and destiny of man. And why did I put that there? Because, many people will use these as, for zodiac signs and all those different things. So the Most High did not create the sun and the moon for his people to use these things to live by, so to speak, to use them as zodiac signs like many use them for. Most High did not create those to be used in that manner. They were used to be a sign, right? And we're going to deal with that. And that's what we're dealing with right now when we deal with the Shabbat. But we also want to deal with another portion of the signs that we have to address as well, that the sun and the moon confirms. So again, these lights that rule the day, the lights that rule the nights, they are not created to worship or to be worshipped, right? Nor determine the fate and destiny of man. Let me say that again. They were not created to be worshiped, excuse the typo here, nor to determine the fate and destiny of man. They are created as signs to show man when to rest and when to work. And I can add a little more to it about, when we deal with the feast days, because I'm going to share a key definition here. All right. So the Hebrew dictionary definition again of signs, you guys remember this from earlier. It means signal, evidence, mark, miracle, proof. So in a nutshell, signs, proof, evidence. Okay. But look at here for this word season. Let's see the definition of the word season. All right. Notice what it says here, right? An appointed, an example, a fixed time or season, specifically a festival. Wait a minute. So when we look at these signs, when we look at the seasons is to help us understand the feast days. Not just the Shabbat, because the 7th-day Shabbat, but also the feast days. Even though the feast days are what? Shabbats. Because a Shabbat can be one day, it could be 1 week, it could be 1 month, it could be an entire year. So an appointment, an example, a fixed time or season, specifically a festival, conventionally a year. Technically, the congregation, by extension, the place of meeting, also a signal. Appointed, in other words, sign, time, right? Then when we get here, feast, set feast, solemn feast. So you see how important when many start disregarding the Shabbat, when they start coming up with all kinds of so-called reasoning of their excuses of not honoring the Shabbat and the feast days, they're going to say stuff like, oh, well, you know what? No one knows what day it is. Oh, the Gregorian calendar. Or they're going to go to Daniel chapter 7, right? You know, changing times and laws. Right? Those are the default things they go to. And then they say, hey, let's talk about the Gregorian calendar, which was created in what? The 15th to 16th century. And it did not change the 7-day cycle, family. You hear most of these guys that come up with excuses, they don't even talk about the Julian calendar. They casting doubts on the signs. The Most High made it clear that he will he'll allow heaven and earth to pass away before he go back on his word. Isn't that the scriptures? Isn't that what the Messiah made clear of? So these are signs, proof, and evidence forever. All right. So when we say the word season, that still lines up with signs. As you see here, feast. As you see here, appointed, an example, fixed time or season, specifically a festival. Festival is synonymous to feast. And as you see here, appointed sign, appointed time. Signal, still a sign. Set feast, solemn feast. You can't get around it, family. You just can't get around it. All right. So the stars in some sections of the scriptures also refers to angels. These animations, I should double check these animations. These animations getting on my nerves here. These transitions. Let me see if I can minimize some of this real quick. All right. I thought I didn't realize I had all these transitions on every page. And I don't want it there. Let me see if I can minimize some of these transitions. I don't want to get you guys dizzy just by watching this presentation. All right. Let me just see if I can take some of these transitions out, because they are really getting on my nerves. Like my grandmother would say, they working my nerves. They working my nerves. All right. All right. So the stars in some sections of scripture refers to angels. And let's prove this here. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 12 through 14. You guys already know this, but I'm going to read it again. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of Elohim. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Right? So we see Lucifer, son of what? The morning. Right? We're dealing with the stars. We're dealing with the lights. Right? The less lights, right? The greater lights the day, the lesser lights at night. So Revelation chapter 22, verse 16, notice what you see here. Yahushua have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the assemblies. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. So here, the Messiah is clear that he is the morning star. But when we go here, we see son of the morning star, or son of the morning, right? But here we see clear that the Messiah is the morning star. But you still see stars being used as for angels, but it's also used in this text pointing to the Messiah. And I want to make it clear, the Messiah is not an angel, right? He is not the archangel Michael. I thought I'd put that out there because, you have people that'll take your words and they'll run with it and twist it up. All right. Okay. So when was Israel calendar according to scripture? All right. What was their calendar? When was it? When was their Shabbats? Now, family, all what I walked you through was just an introduction. And excuse me for the typo of my questions. I didn't proofread my presentation tonight, which I should have. All right. So let's go ahead and reconstruct this calendar. Let's start with Exodus chapter 12, verse 1 and 2. This is imperative. And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron, Aharon, in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So no matter what that month is, right? Let's just say if it was the 6th month of the Egyptian calendar. Well, according to the Hebrew calendar, this month is the first month for Israel. This is their new year. So Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning, Ra'ash, of months, Chadash Yam. It shall be the first month of the year to you. So this is saying that this is going to be their new year. This is going to be the first month of their new year, the first day of their new year. So let's answer this question. How can we put the calendar together? Well, very simple, right? When you go to Exodus 16, we have some nuggets here. We have some dates here that we can use as an anchor, and we can put together this month. Let's go to this verse right here, Exodus 16:1. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after their departing of the land of Egypt. So on the 15th day of the second month, right? So what's significant about this day? Guess what, family? I'm going to show you that this day is a Shabbat. Israel arrived in the wilderness of Sin on the 15th day of the second month. So we're going to use the second month to put together the first month. So is the 15th day a day of rest? I'm going to answer that question. So when we get here, Exodus chapter 16, verse 4 and 5, notice what it says here. Then Yahweh said unto Moses, behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them whether they will walk in my law or no. Verse 5, and it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. So guess what, family? I'm going to further prove that the 15th day of the second month is a Shabbat, right? So here's the 15th day of the second month, right? The children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, right? So make a note of this date here. This is a Shabbat, right? Because they came, they stopped, they rested on this day. They got their instructions on this day, right? Here's the significant point to prove this. So on the 15th day, Moses shared with Israel what to expect on the next day. Notice this here. Here we go. Here's the next day. And Moses and Aaron said unto the children of Israel, at even, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then ye shall see the glory of Yahweh, for that he heareth your murmuring against Yahweh. And what are we that ye murmur against us? Right. So, but we see here it says in the morning, right? But notice what it says. Let's go back here. It's here at even. In other words, in the evening. Remember, that's what the Hebrew day begins, in the evening, right? Evening to evening. So the evening in the morning is what? A day. So right now, Israel getting ready to transition into what? A new day at 6. So at even, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you out of from the land of Egypt in the morning. So you have the evening, but it's saying in the morning you shall see. In other words, in the day portion, right? Because you have the night, but then in the day, they will be able to what? See. Because at night, they're not going to see all of this at night. They're not going to see the fullness of what the Most High is going to open up for them at night, but they'll see it during the morning. All right. So at evening, then ye shall know that that Yahweh hath brought you out from the land of Egypt. So just to make sure we understand here, right? This to give you a visual. This is the Qap. This is the Hebrew letter, the Qap. I turned it 45 degrees to the clockwise to show you that this letter is actually a dial. That's one of the things you won't hear anyone in teaching when they teach the Hebrew letters. They will not teach that this letter is a dial. I did extensive study. That's why I say I really did extensive study here. So when you turn it clockwise, 45 degrees, guess what? Now you see why this letter means balance, horizon, circle. Because when you take that line there and you look at this, it looks like a horizon. And as you see, the line is straight across. It looks like the transition of the evening, right? You know, in the evening, when you see the sun set on the water, it looks like that. And then when you see early in the morning, it looks the same, right? So this is the Qap. This is the Hebrew letter Qap. All right. So when you look at it here, so according to the Gregorian calendar, the 6th hour is 12 noon on the Gregorian calendar. All right. So just want to make sure you understand that. All right. So looking here, right? So this would be the 6th hour, but on the Gregorian calendar, this would be 12 noon. Right. So I just want to point that out. All right. I was just looking here. Anyway, but on the 6th hour, right, at evening of the 6th hour, at evening. So at the end of this Shabbat, which is the evening, when it comes to an end, at even, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you, right? And then in the morning, after that night passed, in the morning is where they would see the blessing. They would truly see and experience the blessing. So Moses and Aaron went before Israel and declared Yah's promise and instructions. In the evening, Yahweh would use his provision to prove that that it was he who saved them and brought them out of the land of the Egyptian slavery. So in the morning, Yahweh will use his provisions to prove his glory. So when we go to the next day, right, and this is what I highlighted, right, at evening, right, then ye shall know that Yahweh hath brought you, right? So at evening, and then in the morning, they'll be able to go out. So this is the first day of the week. We just proved that the 15th is a Shabbat, not a 14th, but it's the 15th. The 15th day fell on what? The Shabbat. The next day is the 16th. The evening of the 16th day begins at sundown at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. sundown here. All right. But nevertheless, and it came to pass that at even, Okay. And it came to pass that at even, right at evening, right once that Shabbat had ended, the quails came up and covered the camp. So in the morning, the dew lay round about the host. So this is telling you, once evening came, once the Shabbat concluded at 6 p.m., right? You had a miraculous migration of quails at evening, came up and covered the entire camp. And in the morning, guess what? The dew lay round about, and Israel was able to go and collect. So it says here, it shall come to pass that on the 6th day. So here it is, on the 15th, they got this the word of the Most High, what he was going to do for them on the 16th, right? So from the 16th for the next 6 days, right? Starting on the 15th, on the 16th day, the beginning of the week, Israel will be going out and gathering food. But on the 6th day, they double up so they could rest on the 7th. So on the 15th day of the 2nd month, Israel was given instructions for the upcoming 7 days. They were instructed to work the next 6 days and gather double on the 6th day and rest on the 7th day. So on the 16th day of the 2nd month, Israel witnessed the miracles of Yah, executed Yah's instruction, and began to gather manna for the next 6 days. They began to get the manna, began to get the quails. So as you see here, as we illustrated here, so again, going back here at on this next day, they began to what? The quails came up at evening, and in the morning they began to what? Gather up. They began to carry out the instructions. So again, this is just highlighting this again, giving you a visual here at evening, right? They actually executed what was told to them, the instructions that was given to them. So we identified the 15th, right? Technically we're good, but I'm going to identify another Shabbat here on the same calendar. Exodus chapter 16, verse 23. Notice what we see here. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun waxed hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread. So now they carrying out the instruction. They got the instructions on the 15th, which is a Shabbat. Now on the 16th, they carrying it out. So for the next 6 days, right, they're following instructions. Now on the 6th day, they gathered twice as much bread, right? 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses, right? And he said unto them, this is that which Yahweh has said, tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat unto Yahweh. Bake that which ye will bake today, and see it that ye will see it, and that which remaineth overlay up for you to be kept until the morning. So what he's saying here, now they are given instructions, right? On the 6th day, which would be the 21st, right? Because the 15th was a Shabbat. So that means the 22nd would be a Shabbat. So on the 21st, which would be what we would call the 6th day or a Friday, right? Moses gave them this instruction on collecting double so that way they can rest on the Shabbat. So tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat unto Yahweh. Bake that which ye will bake today, and see it that ye will see it, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until morning. All right. This is just giving you clarity here. He said tomorrow is the rest of the holy Shabbat. So he's telling them that, all right, at evening, that is going to be what? The next day. At evening, that, tomorrow, all right, is coming. The Shabbat is coming. This is beginning. The rest is coming. So during this time, right, complete all what you need to do. Do all your baking, double up. So that way at evening, you are not going against the words of the Most High. All right. So when we go to Exodus, again, still in Exodus chapter 16, but when we go to verse 26, notice what happens. 6 days, ye shall gather it, but on the 7th day, which is the Shabbat, In it there shall be none. So here's the current confirmation, right? On the 15th day on the second month, they got their instructions. On the 16th day, they followed those instructions. The quail came and, the Most High blessed them. So for the next 6 days, from the 16th to the 21st, they're following those instructions. But then on the 21st, they were giving a reminder that, hey, the Shabbat is coming up. Remember, don't do anything on the Shabbat. But on the 21st, double up. Get all your cooking out the way. Now, you guys probably grew up the way I grew up. My grandmother, what she used to do is she used to get all her cooking done on the Shabbat, honoring Sunday, unfortunately. The old school, they would treat Sunday like it was the Shabbat. They'll cook all day on Saturday, give you snacks on Saturday, but guess what? They didn't do any cooking on Sunday. When actually the day they should have been honoring is the Shabbat, which is the seventh day. Anyway, so, all right. So as we see here, giving you a visual here, this is the second month. So we identified the Shabbat on the 15th. As we see here, a Shabbat on the 22nd, which is that Friday. That Friday here, the sixth day of the week is where they got the instructions to double up, make sure they get everything they need out of the way, so that way they can honor the Most High on the actual Shabbat. But on the seventh day, which is the Shabbat, verse 26, they're supposed to cease. So Israel did not follow instructions and was corrected. And this is where we get to verse 27 through 30. All right. And it came to pass that there were some of the people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. And Yahweh said unto Moses, how long refuse ye to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that Yahweh hath given you this Shabbat, therefore he giveth you on the sixth day the bread of 2 days. Abide ye every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day, right? So we see here, right? The people rested. So we just identified 2 Shabbats, right? This is just giving you a follow-up here, right? On the second, on the this set of instructions, though, some of the Israelites, as I highlighted, didn't follow the instructions and got corrected, right? Let's go back here because I think I glanced over it pretty quick, right? As it says here in verse 27, and it came to pass that there went out some of the people on the seventh day for to gather, and they found none. So some of the people disobeyed. But notice what you don't see here. They were not punished in terms of their lives taken away. Like when we dealt with the man a couple of weeks ago who was operating in a spirit of what's the defiance, the spirit of defiance, and purposely went out to challenge and disrespect the Father. That 2 different situations. But this situation here, we see that the Most High did not carry out a death penalty on them. All right. But anyway, we see that some didn't listen. That's the point that I want to highlight. All right. So on the 15th day, they received their instructions. 16th day, they carried them out for 6 days. The next 6 days up until the 21st, they did exactly what the Most High said do. They doubled up. On the 22nd, some Israelites did not follow instructions and got corrected. But guess what? We identified 2 Shabbats. That's key. So let's construct the Hebrew calendar based upon what I just mentioned. Let's do a recap. Again, Israel arrived in the wilderness on the 15th day of the second month. On the next morning, the first day of the week, on the 16th day of the second month, Israel began gathering manna for 6 days. After the sixth day of gathering manna comes the next day, which is the weekly Shabbat. On the 15th day of the second month was a weekly Shabbat. The 22nd day was a weekly Shabbat that we identified. So now that we identified 2 7-day Shabbats, guess what? We can fully reconstruct the second month. So let's do it for you. All right. So you see how I filled it out here. All right. You see how I filled it out, right? Because these two are Shabbats, right? This is where Israel came to a rest, got their instructions. But then on the 22nd, this is where some still went out on the 7th day and got corrected on this particular Shabbat. So when we fill out these days here, notice we have the 1st, the 18th, the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th. Now remember, Israel months are 30-day months. So that means we can, based off of this second month, we can rebuild the first month. Let me say that again. Based off this second month, we laid out all the Shabbats here, the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th. That means that the 30th day will be here. I'm just circling it here, but I'm going to bring it up here. Would have fallen on the 6th day of the week. So let me give you an illustration of this, right? So let's use the second month to complete the first month. So here is the first month, right? So let's double back. Let me take out those. Let me take something out here just so that way you guys can get a better visual. Let me see here. Because I didn't put animations here. Because I want to toggle between two things here real quick. All right. And we're almost done here, family. Just that simple. All right. Let's see here. All right. I want to take two things off here. All right. So that way I can use it as an example. All right. So here we go. All right. So let's go ahead and go back to the second month. Oh, let's do this again. Let's go back to the second month. All right, let's remove these items here so you can get a better visual. All right, this is the second month. All right, now we're going to go. Let's go ahead and go to the. Let's take this out here for now. All right. So now this is the second month. So I can actually show you here. So as we see here, this 6th day right here. So this is all the Shabbats in the second month. The 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th. Remember, there's 30-day months, right? So the previous month, this will be the 30th, the 29th. The 30th, the 29th, 28th, 27th, 26th, 25. So let's get a visual here. All right. So this is what we did here. All right. So now this first here is the Shabbat of the second month, right? So that's why it's grayed out. But notice the Shabbats that we have here in the first month, the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th. So the very first calendar of the Israelite calendar, the very first calendar for the Israelites, guess what, family? This is it right here. There, the new moon would have been on this day right here, the 1st, right? But notice it did not start at the beginning of the week. Let's go back here. We identified the 15th and the 22nd of the second month as being Shabbats. So that gave us a way that a starting point, a foundation that we can fill in the entire calendar. So when we go to the previous month, guess what? The 24th, 17th, 10th, and the 3rd. So this is the original calendar right here. And as you see here, this would have been the day that the land was secured. This would have been the day, the middle of the week, that the Passover, that's the Passover and the day of preparation. This would have been the day of first day of the unleavened bread. And this would have been the 7th day Shabbat. So we would see that there's multiple Shabbats in this week. And there you have it, family. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it. There you have it, family. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Again, the key was to use the second month as our baseline, as our anchor. And we were able to identify 2 Shabbats in the second month based off of Exodus chapter 16. Once we did that, the rest fell into place. So we proved that that the Shabbat did not fall on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. Because again, let's go back to the second month. Right, this is the first month. But if we go to the second month, you don't see a 7, 14, 21, 28. You don't see that here. When the Shabbats for that month, the 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, 29th. But then when we go to the first month, you don't see the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, the 28th. No, you see the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, the 24th. That's what you see. And I just proved with these set of scriptures, Exodus 16, in rebuilding this calendar, that those that try to say that the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, the 28th, that these are where the Shabbat is supposed to always fall on, that is completely incorrect. And there's not a single passage that supports that. Some will even say that it's supposed to fall on the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and 29th. Guess what? Same thing. Likewise, we completely proved that incorrect, right? So you'll see that here for the second month, the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, 22nd, the 29th. But remember, 30-day months. But when we go to the first month, guess what? You don't see that being repeated in the first month. You only have 4 Shabbats, the 3rd, the 10th, the 17th, and the 24th. And the scriptures line up with this. Also, the Messiah's death, burial, and resurrection lines up with this as well. The middle of the week is when he was lynched, and they had to put him inside the sepulcher before evening. It got him in before the evening, right? The beginning of a new day, because of what? The first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is a high holy day, which would be a Shabbat. So these will be Shabbats right here, family. There was multiple Shabbats in that week. That's why you will see in the Greek, you'll see the word Sabbaton, which is plural, right? For Shabbat. All right. But hope this helped you out, family. I know I gave you a lot of information to go off of, and rightfully so, because it's time for us to really go further with our understanding of the text. And we have to not allow others to tell us what the scripture says. We have to stop sitting back, allowing people, or being so trusting of what people say and not actually vet the information. You know, and that's why I'm making it clear. I'm making it clear. I'm giving you all the information. I'm giving you scripture. I'm giving you sources to prove that the logics that many are using within this awakening are incorrect. Are incorrect. Our baseline, we start with Torah. We don't start with secular. We start with Torah. As I proved, you will not find a single month that has 30 days. That's a fact. There's no 30. That's over 30 days and below 30 days. You will not find any 29.5 days. You will not find any 31-day months. They will always be 30-day months. All right. All right. I'll drop the link real quick before we wrap up. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in tonight. Like I said, I know it's a lot of information. I know that it goes against some of the things that some of you guys may have been introduced to. But I gave you all scriptures and sources that supports what I just shared with you. I just give you nothing but sources, starting with Torah. All right. So I'm not trying to belittle anyone that use the what you call it, the Book of Jubilees, but we have to be real about it. The Book of Jubilees is not a valid source to use, especially when we're dealing with subjects like this. All right. So let me see here, Brother George. You know what? Quite honestly, just off of what I gave you, you could create your yearly calendar off of this. I just given you the template to create your own yearly calendar. Right? I gave you 2 months. Go back over and watch the lesson. I gave you 2 months, and then you could build what? The 3rd month, the 4th month, the 5th month, the 6th month, the 7th month. Right? Whoa, the 7th month. Oh, yeah, you could build it. Now you get into what? The high holy days that are coming up. So the goal here is to help you guys recreate it. So I encourage you to go back over the lesson, and I can guarantee you, you will be able to do it. Because this is, I laid it out. I gave you the baseline. Right? Let me show you the first month again. It's just that simple. This is the first month. Knowing that this is the first month of the original Hebrew calendar, man, this is a lot that you could do so much off of this. Now, when you're dealing with the new moon, right? Every year, right? And this is the rule of thumb. The first new moon, right? The first new moon past the spring equinox, that would be Israel's first day of the month. And then you could just apply this there. So let's just say if that new moon, the spring equinox, right, fell on, let's just say the 21st, the first new moon afterwards, let's just say if it fell on let's just say March 31st. Well, technically, that would be Israel's first day of the new year. That would be that new moon will be Israel's first day. And then you calculate. Now, of course, if, I believe March has 31 days. So you have to take all of that into consideration. But again, I just gave you the formula. I just laid out the formula. All right. Let's see here. Sister Juliet, unfortunately, I just go off of the scriptures. See, this is where we have to, quite honestly, family, you have to be careful, and I'm just being real with you, of eating off on so many tables, because it's going to, when you're watching teachings, and that you're saying that one teaching is saying one thing, right, and then another teaching is saying something else, that's where confusion come into play, right? If we start off with the scriptures, and I'm gonna give you this nugget, Sister Juliet. It's in the scriptures starting with Genesis chapter 1 of when a day starts. Evening to morning. It started in the evening. It started in the dark. Right? It's just that simple. And George Page, it's just that simple. It's no special formula. I'm just giving you it simple. I just made it simple. There's no special formula. It's kind of like dealing with Eddie Murphy with not Eddie Murphy, what's that? Kung Fu Panda. Right? They're looking for the special ingredients, the special formula. So that's what we have to understand. There's no special formula. It's that simple. I just share with you the simplest way to calculate your own calendar. I gave you the template here. Screenshot this. Walk through it. Because the key is you doing it yourself. You doing it yourself. Well, George, I'm not going to get into all of that stuff. 13 moons. I'm going to go off the scripture, right? Because you're doing the same thing that someone came in. There's only 12-month years. All that other stuff, I'm not entertaining it. And this is what gets disappointing is because, matter of fact, I'm just going to put this person out because this person really didn't come in to want to learn anything. He came in just like the other person. And this is what happens, family. When people come into the chat, right, and they start asking questions about 13 moons in a year, it's like, come on now. Why are we even going there? Why are we going there? 12-month years. There's not a single 13th month in the scriptures. But this person want to ask the question about 13 new moons. Come on, family. It's that simple. I'll challenge anyone. Show me 13 months. Show me the 13th month inside scripture. You won't find a 13th month. Come on, family. It's just that simple. And this is the foolishness that we have going on in our community. This is why you have so many people doing their own thing. And actually, this is why I began to separate myself a lot from a lot of these different groups out here because of stuff like this. No matter how much you show of this truth, you have, and I'm going to call it rebels that want to insert confusion. This person asked me for a formula. And family, we have enough people, and we've been caught up in that delusion in the church to where as though we have to depend on, or we depending on one person to give us the truth versus taking that information home and vetting the information. But like this person wanted to do is want me to give some special sauce, some special formula. And I'm saying there is no special formula. But then the person want to ask a question about 13 moons. Family, this is why I say, we have to keep it simple. That's why the scripture says the very elect, come on, family, is going to barely make it. We're going to barely make it, family. We're going to barely make it. All because of something so simple. Can't understand Genesis. That's why I say, if you can't understand Genesis, don't talk to me about anything. Don't even go to some book of Jubilees if you can't even break down the very first book. You got so many people going to all these different so-called, and they're not even missing lost books. These are pseudo books that was written 14, 15 centuries after Torah, after the first 5 books. And these people want to go there and give more weight to that, which is proven to be filled with all kinds of interpolations and paraphrase. Come on, family. Teaching that Eve dwelt inside Adam's body. Come on, family. That's in the book of Jubilees. Come on, family. And you want to hold that as being more weightier than the original Torah? Oh, come on, family. Man, again, this is why, man, y'all help our people, man. Y'all help our people, man. Let me do something real quick here. I'm going to do something real quick. Right? Let me see if I could bring this one up. So I did a whole series, family. That's why I say I get frustrated sometimes with the foolishness. And thank you, peace and blessings to my brother Ernest. Thank you for the support over the years. Really appreciate the love and support. Thank you for the super sticker. And family, let's show some love for brother Ernest here. Let's show some love for this brother right here. And really appreciate you, family. Really appreciate you. So let me share something with you real quick, family. Let me put another presentation up, right? Let me put another presentation up. And I want to answer the sister that asked the question as well. Let's see here. Sister Juliet Matthews. Let me show you this here. It's up to you to, whatever you want to decide to do with the information. If you decide to continue with receiving what I'm getting ready to share with you, or if you want to, go off of what someone else is teaching, we have the scriptures. That's your choice. That's you guys' choice overall. I'm just presenting the information, and whatever you choose to do with it, that's up to you, right? But I want to share this with you guys. Let me see here. Let me share this here. This is a lesson that I do internally, right? This is why I say, if we don't need to be, many of our brothers and sisters, right? They make the mistake that many in church makes, right? They don't read the scripture for themselves. Or if they hear that, hey, here's a missing book, they'll run and read that missing book, but won't even read the 66 that's before them. Reading the book of Jubilees, but when I ask brothers and sisters, hey, can you explain to me Genesis 1:1? They can't. They get into all this exoteric stuff, these pseudo writings. Because family, just because it's an old writing doesn't mean that it's not pseudo, that it's not bad material. You have false writings being written back at that time. That's why you have what? Doctrines. False doctrines. That's the term, false doctrines, false writings. And the book of Jubilees is a false writing. Anyway. Family, let me share something with you real quick. This is Genesis chapter 1. Verse 1, right? It says here, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form or void. The darkness was upon the face of the deep. The spirit of the Elohim, some of you guys would say Elohim, moved upon the face of the waters. This is it in ancient Hebrew, or what I just read, right? Ba, Rashayath, right? In, right? I highlighted the prefix. I made sure that they are different colors. This is what I teach internally in our Hebrew classes. So in beginning, Bara'ah created, Elohim, right? Ath, you're not going to see this in translations, because what you'll be taught when you study Israeli language, what they call Hebrew, which is really Israeli language, you don't even see this accounted for. They'll tell you that this can be a very confusing word. They'll tell you that, hey, it could be oath, which can be you. It can also be plural for feminine. It can transliterate to the word sign. It can transliterate to the word you or thee or them. But when we put it in this proper perspective, let me drink something real quick. Right? Notice what it says here. In beginning created Elohim, you, the heavens, Ha Shemayam, and you, Wath, Ath, and you, the earth, Ha Aratazah. Now, when we look at it in the Israeli pronunciation, Be Reshit Bara Elohim Et Ha Shemayim Ve Et Ha Aretz. So I just read this first chapter to you, first verse, in both ancient Hebrew and the Israeli language. I put the plurals, right? This is a masculine plural here. In Israeli is im, right? Because this is supposed to be plural here, right? But unfortunately, I don't have the plural here. I should have had this highlighted white. All right, because this is the correct yod. You had the correct and you had a correct yod, right? So this is this yod is being used as a vowel. So this is the plural, masculine plural. All right. So again, you have Be Reshit Ba Ra Elohim Et Ha Shemayim Ve Et Ha Aretz. But you notice that I'm accounting for Et or Ath, right? So if we go to that, I'm not even going to go into this here. I just want to get to this one point. This is just me parsing the text, just showing you how to parse the text. But let's go here. It says Ata, right? Thou and thee, or plural, ye or you. Well, what are you saying, Pastor? Notice how I just read it. In the beginning, Elohim created you, the heavens, and you, the earth. All right. So we could confirm this in verse 2. Verse 2, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. Right. But, you know, this is just confirming what I just read. Genesis 1:1 is actually saying, in the beginning, the Most High created you, the heavens, and you, the earth. Right? But I want to get to a point here. Man, family, it's just that simple. Let me get to the point. Let me get to here. I wanted to get to a certain point here. I want to get to the portion where it says here. I don't want to get into all my teaching here. Some of this I like to keep internal. And I'll bring some of this to the Patreon channel as well. I want to get to the last portion here. All right. This is the part I want to get to. Verse 5. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Let me say that again, right? And the evening and the morning is the first day. Let me say that again. In the evening and the morning is the first day, family. Let me say it one more time. In the evening and the morning is the first day. So this is telling us that a day starts at the evening, not in the morning. Let me say that again. The day starts at the evening and not the morning. So it's the evening and the morning is the first day. The evening, Arab. The morning, Bakar. Those are the transitional portions or the transitional points of a day. It's just that simple, family. It's just that simple. It's just that simple, family. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. Can't get around it, family. It's just that simple. Each day you'll see this for the first day. It'll say in the evening of the morning, first day, the evening of the morning, second day, evening of the morning, third day, evening of the morning, fourth day, evening of the morning, fifth day, evening of the morning, sixth day. You'll see this all through the chapter. So anyone that tells you contrary is incorrect. We have it within the scriptures. We have it in the scriptures. All right, family. That's why I'll say it again. You know, even when I was in the church, I didn't eat off of a lot of tables, you know, because there's a lot of misleading information that is out there. But that's what I really want to show you guys is this portion right here. I want to share this with the sister that you know was dealing, you know, that asked the question. What's her name? Let me go back here. Juliet. You know, when she said here, let me see here. All other Shabbats, yeah, said that I have to rewatch broadcast. I had another teaching showing that there was only 2 feast days where Shabbat began in the evening. All other Shabbats was from sunrise the 7th day to sunset the same day. Family, we're not getting into all of that. I'm not even going to post up here because this is getting into some other stuff that I don't even want to deal with. You know, I don't want to even I put it up there anyway. My apologies. I don't like to deal with stuff like this. You know, I don't, because you know, I'm just going to remove this here. I was trying to remove it and then pull it up. All right. I don't want to deal with stuff like that. That's to me, that's taking a conversation way out in left field. All right. Let me see here. Let me answer one last question here. And Sister Carol, if you want to jump on, feel free to jump on. If you want to jump on, I'm gonna drop the link. Let me see here. I thought I saw a question here about a day. What the 12 hours in a day verse? What's the 20 hours? Jacob Yasharala. Let me pull that up here. All right. Let's pull that up here. All right, let's pull that up real quick. And like I said, family, this is where, unfortunately, as Paul warned leaders, you know, that we're supposed to be at a point that we're not causing the people to be tossed to or fro with every wind of doctrine. And that's what's happening right now. People are being tossed to or fro. All right, so let me pull up here the hours in the day here. All right, here we go. Oops, that's not what I want. Let me share this here. I'm going to pull up another presentation. All right, let me see here. Let's stop this one here. All right, let's do this now. Share. And we're going to wrap this up here. All right, here we go. How many hours are in a day? What is the scripture? Did Hamashiach know the number of hours in the day? Well, when we go to John chapter 11, verse 9 and 10, it says this. Yahushua answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? This is dealing with the day portion of the day, not a full cycle of morning or evening to evening. So it says, and we're going to prove it here. Yahushua answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. So he says that there's 12 hours. He's referring to the daylight portion of that 24-hour cycle. That's why he followed it up and said, but if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth. It's pretty straightforward right here. So this is the passage right here. So he understood, the Messiah understood time, right? That's this passage right here. And also, what was another passage I want to highlight here? Right? This is another thing I want to highlight as far as what is a day, right? And this is what I just highlighted, the day and night. I mean, the evening and the morning were the first day, right? But when we go to Leviticus chapter 23, verse 32, notice what it says here, right? It shall be unto you a Shabbat rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even shall ye celebrate your Shabbat. So this is telling you from this is a full 24-hour cycle here, but this is further proving up what a 24-hour day is. We know that there's 24 hours in a day, and the Messiah knew that there's 24 hours in a day. And this is going right back to the passage that was asked, are there not 12 hours in a day? All right. And it goes on to say, but if a man walketh in the night, so he's making a distinction between the 24-hour cycle, the daylight portion of the day, which, it consists of 12 hours. All right. All right. All right. Let's see what else we have here. Absolutely, Sister Karen. Itching ears. People tend to gravitate towards what sounds good and what strokes our egos. It's the knowledge that is puffing up, but they lack understanding. Absolutely. I totally agree with you, sis. I totally agree with you. So that's why it's unfortunate. And that's why when I do certain lessons, that's why I pay attention to the questions that are being asked, because what they'll do, they'll come in and troll. They'll play it like they're trying to ask just a simple question, like they're trying to gain understanding. And then they start inserting confusion. Just like that guy wanted to ask me, can I forward him a calendar? And I'm like, hey, I just gave you, I pointed out, I gave you the lesson. I don't need to forward you a calendar. My calendar, I gave you the information on how to create it yourself. And then that's where he comes out and saying that there's 13 new moons in a year. It's like, how? It's like, hey, let's keep that craziness moving, because that's this type of stuff that people would. I mean, these trolls. This is what they do. They'll start off and make it seem like they're peaceful, and then before you know it, they'll be all over the place, and they'll try to hijack the discussion. So again, family, go back over and listen to the lesson, just so that way you understand how to recreate it. And like I said, I've dealt with this a long time, been doing this for years, and this is how people do when they want to troll. Trust me, the way I teach our Shabbats, I let people ask questions, and I've had to deal with people actually trying to hijack the Shabbat, and I had to correct them in a respectful way, of course. But unfortunately, those, you have people who purposely want to cause confusion and basically promote someone else's teaching on another platform. And this is how they begin to introduce or try to bring people over to another channel. It's because they'll say, hey, over at this channel, this person teaches this. And no, you won't do that if you was in school. You won't if you're in a class with your professor, right? Let's just say you're dealing with let's say psychology 101. You're not going to mention what another professor is teaching in another psychology class. You're going to focus on what's in front of you. That is completely unethical. And we see that happening a lot when you're dealing with trolls. They'll try to put one against the other and say, hey, just for the sake of you mentioning, or they try to get, try to promote that within the chats and then try to get people to go over to watch those channels. I'm not doing that here. And moderators, you guys know what to do. All right. Let's see here. Tammy, Dav family, let's show some love for Tammy for showing the love here. Thank you for the super sticker. Really appreciate you. And family, let's show some love for Tammy for the love and support. Thank you again. Really appreciate the love and support. Definitely don't take it lightly of the contribution. Really appreciate you supporting what we're doing here. Really appreciate you, family. Let's show Tammy some love, family. Let's show her some love. All right. So, family, as I pointed out, this is why I do what I do. But I encourage you guys, family. Yes, I can go over in the lesson and I can forward you all kinds of PowerPoints and spreadsheets. But it's always better to start by doing it yourself. If you have questions, then reach out to me, but not me doing all the work after just giving you a presentation on how to fish. I'm teaching you guys how to fish, so that way, guess what? You'll be able to eat. But if I continue to just give you the fish, or hard times come and you need to go fishing for yourself to get the fish yourself, you're going to struggle. Right? And we've been fed so much for so long. In other words, poor teaching. So, it is what it is. Let's see here. Pastor, are you willing to have your points on this subject challenged? Quite honestly, I'm not into the debate, and I'm not challenging anyone. It's simple as that. I'm not sure what points you want to challenge, but I'm not, I dropped the link for those that have questions, but it's not a debate here. I'm not debating anyone here. It's straightforward. I'll say it again. Unless you could prove to me in Torah, the law and the prophets, right, that there was a 13th month or a 31-day month or a 29.5-day month, unless you're going to show that within Torah, then that's a different discussion. But I know you can't. So I'm not here to debate. That's not what this is about. And I think that's part of the problem right now. And this is not disrespecting you, but that's part of the problem. Because if you really want to have a discussion, if you really have a question that you feel like may go against what I just taught, then you should be able to say, hey, Pastor, can I reach out to you offline? What's the purpose of jumping on and trying to go into a debate? There's no need for me to debate. I stand firmly on what I taught. There's no debate. What are we going to debate? We have enough of that. See, the difference, the one thing that we can learn from the disciples with the Messiah, and I want to make it clear, I'm not a Messiah, but what the disciples would do, not just with the Messiah, but guess what? If they had a question, they would ask them privately. See, that's how you could tell when someone is a true disciple. When you are a disciple, you are astute at learning, but you know order. That's the disciples. Anytime they had questions, what did they do? They went to the Messiah in private. Why do we have to have everything publicly? Why do we have to have things publicly? What's the purpose? I'm not going to debate anyone over something that's like this. What's the debate? What's the deliberate? For what? For what? You know, so with that being said, no, I'm not going to debate or debate what I just taught. There's no point in that. You know, so I appreciate you for watching whatever whatever you may have watched of the presentation. But far as the debate stuff, no, we're not going to do that here. You know, if you want to reach out to me offline, if you have any questions, reach out to me offline. But we're definitely not going to do any debates over here. But with that being said, I just want to read 2 Timothy chapter 15, family, because this is what we need to, I believe, what we need to learn as a community. You know, we really have to understand that, put things in its proper perspective, right? This is what it says, 2 Timothy chapter 2, starting at verse 15, right? Starting at verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto Yahweh, a workman needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. But we need to go to verse 16, because that's the key. Because many quote this passage, but they don't go to verse 16. But shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. So many of our brothers and sisters are studying, but what are they studying for? Are they studying to debate one another? Because if you really understand that passage here, and it's sad the state of where we are, you know, those that are awakened, debating, having debates, and I mean wild debates with many people within the church. I mean, cursing and all kinds of stuff. And I'm not just saying from people in the awakening. You got people in the church cursing. I mean, the spirit of contention. Study to show thyself approved unto the Most High, not to prove a point, not to get in front of people to try to put up to perform in front of the people. It says a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. When you studying yourself to be approved unto the Father, there's going to be so many nights that you're going to be by yourself, that you're going to be up late, like 2 or 3 in the morning, that I've done for years on top of years by myself, reading and studying, taking classes, and this, so many nights study, because I'm studying to show myself approved to the Most High. A workman, a true disciple, is skilled at learning. That's what a disciple is. Lamad, skilled at learning, a workman that need not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. But verse 16, but shun profane and vain babblings, for they will increase unto more ungodliness. So with that being said, family, that's it right there. That's it right there. That's the answer right there. So I appreciate you, brother, for even asking and not jumping on and trying to debate it. So I give respect for that. At least he asked. You have some that have tried to jump on here, and I had to shut them down, because it's like, hey, we're not here to debate. I'm here to teach. All right. So with that being said, family, I really appreciate you guys. No one jumped on, so I really appreciate you guys. But in the words of the Most High, Yahweh, to Noah, to give these words to the Israelites when they was in Egypt or came out of Egypt, and they were panicking and they were uncertain about what was going to happen with the Egyptians coming to take them out, Moses had to encourage them with these words that the Most High gave him. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14. Fear ye not, stand still, see the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will not have power over you again. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will not have power over you again. The Most High will fight for you. Here's the kicker, family. We have to hold our peace. And the Hebrew word there is charash, and I'm saying it from the ancient Hebrew, which means be quiet. Can't go back, can't stay here, keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was the... Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.